Hello and welcome to this week's episode. I'm rejoined by Dave Seminara, who is a writer, journalist, YouTuber, and an avid traveller. Dave comes on to the podcast to talk about his recent trip to South Africa, where he looped in Eswatini and Lesotho. And we're going to get all things covered in this episode, like safety, budget, amazing experiences, wildlife, local people, local perspectives, what he learned on the trip, and everything else in between. Dave is always welcome back onto the podcast. He's been on for the third or fourth time now, so almost an unofficial co-host. And today, we're going to dive straight in to an area of the world that I just need to go and travel to. And quickly, before we dive in, don't forget to rate and review this podcast on your podcast app, Spotify, Apple, CastBox, whatever you use. And if you're on YouTube, please follow, subscribe, like, and leave a comment. I love to see and read them, and it helps the channel gain a bit of traction. If you'd like to support the production costs of this podcast, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/winging it for $5. That is appreciated too. And finally, tell your friends by word of mouth of Winging It. Lots of travel content coming your way at the end of 2025 and 2026. I hope you like it and come back. And I really put a lot of effort into this podcast to provide you with a wholesome travel podcast. Let's get stuck into the episode with Dave. Thanks for tuning in. Let's go. Dave, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Where are you right now?
I am in my backyard out here by the pool here in St. Petersburg, Florida.
It's a lovely setting.
It is a lovely setting. I'll show you around here what it looks like. And October is actually a really nice month here in Florida. We're talking Africa today, but since I'm here in Florida, I'll tell you, October is such a nice month here if we're not having hurricanes. Like last October, we had two massive hurricanes 11 days apart. It was an absolute nightmare. But October is, still hurricane season here, so we don't have a lot of tourists here. But if we're not having hurricanes and stormy weather, it can be a beautiful month here.
Is Florida the place where people move to in the winter because obviously the weather is great?
Yeah, snowbirds. Yeah. Our
Okay.
population increases like 30% or something like that in the winter months.
Oh, wow. So they must have second homes in the state, right?
They do.
Where's the most popular place to have second homes? Is it Key West, something like that?
No, I think Key West is too small and expensive, so I wouldn't say Key West. I would say, there's a number of different places where people have tons of second homes, but like I've got a brother who's a snowbird down at Naples, which is in the southwest coast. Like Naples in that area, Fort Myers is a huge second home place. There's a lot of people here in St. Petersburg in this area who have second homes here. Really sort of all over the states, up and down both coasts, the Gulf Coast and the Atlantic Coast. So near all of the best beaches, I would say.
Yeah, I remember on the road trip across America, we were at the end of summer at the top end of America, and people were working their way down. So they had the summer, in around the country, sort of northern hemisphere of US, if you like, and they're just making their way south because obviously the winter gets worse. So that's kind of what we met, like people on 7-8 month road trips. Pretty cool.
Right.
And I think for USA, I think the road trip culture is one of my favorites because I think you get an interesting subsect of people there, I think.
Some people who are like, they've got camper vans and stuff like that. You mean that?
Yeah, they're kind of almost full time, maybe like live in their house or apartment maybe 3 or 4 months a year, but mostly on the road, and there's huge RVs. Yeah, I quite like that vibe. I quite like it.
I don't aspire to that lifestyle at all. My wife has talked about that before.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like the idea of driving a gigantic vehicle. I don't know what it is. Like even like sometimes if you get a rental vehicle that's too large for my taste, I don't like driving like a boat around. And I've never driven a motorhome, but for some reason, I don't even like the idea of it, even though I'm an absolute travel addict. That type of travel doesn't appeal to me because I don't like the idea of driving a gigantic vehicle. Maybe if someone drove me around and I was just in the passenger seat, then maybe I wouldn't mind it.
So would you camp or ever camp at all?
I think I'm too old for camping now, James. I think I've grown out of that. We used to camp a lot.
Right.
We used to camp a lot, especially when I lived in Oregon. Like Oregon is an amazing state for camping.
Sure.
And I love the idea of being out in the middle of nowhere and seeing the stars very clearly and being in one tent. My whole family, I have 2 children, and especially when my kids were younger, family bonding time together in one tent together. I love that. But I'll tell you, the older I get, the harder that I think is for me for a number of different reasons. I mean, first of all, I'm one of these people, my wife, God bless her, she could sleep 10 hours and not have to go to the bathroom a single time.
Right.
I get up a couple times per night to go to the bathroom. And like when you're camping, that is such a hassle when you're in a tent, especially when it's freezing cold outside. You're like, you got to make bathroom runs. So I don't enjoy that. also just all the little aches and pains, like my back, my knees, just all the different body parts. I'm portraying myself like I'm a super old. I'm not that old, but I guess I'm getting a little too old and fragile for camping. And I will do it again, but it won't be often. Let's put it that way. What about you?
I am no tents anymore for the same reasons. And you know what? Believe it or not, I started drinking water this year, which sounds a bit crazy. So I start to go to the toilet every once a while at night. It's pretty much every night. So
Awful.
I just can't deal with it. So I can't go tenting, but I will go to camp in a RV or a camper van 100%
Yeah.
every summer. Yeah.
Today, this is a good segue into our topic for today too, because we went to Kruger National Park in South Africa, and I talked to some friends about, okay, where did you stay when you're in
Yeah.
Kruger? And there are like rustic places where you can camp there. And there's also, there's places like these lodges and stuff like that where you can kind of rough it in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a consideration, especially if you're, on a tight budget. That's kind of the way you can do safari. We did not end up doing that. And again, it was because I thought to myself, I don't sure how many times I'll be able to afford to go on safari, but I thought I
Yes.
want to fully enjoy it. I don't want to wake up in the morning feeling like, oh my God, my back, because, when you're on safari, you go on 2 game drives per day,
Mm-hmm.
and these game drives can be 2 to 3 hours at a time. So you may be spending 4 to 6 hours per day in a vehicle, and it can be a little bit bumpy too, especially when you're off-roading, if you're in a
Yeah.
private game reserve, especially. So like, I don't want to have my back hurting when I'm already going to be spending 4, 5, 6 hours per day in a safari vehicle. So ended up spending probably, more money than I would have preferred. But I'm telling you, James, this trip that we just took, and there's always recency bias when you get home from a trip and you say
Yeah,
best
of
trip
course.
ever.
Yeah.
And then you go on your next trip and say, oh, that was actually the best trip ever. I think this trip that we just took was the best trip I have ever taken in my life. And I've taken hundreds and hundreds of trips, but South Africa, Lesotho, Eswatini, these three, the experiences that we had, I think it was definitely the most interesting trip that I have ever taken in my life. And now I'm rethinking my entire geographic travel focus,
Oh,
and I'm thinking so strongly about Africa now. It was my first time traveling in sub-Saharan Africa in my life, and now I'm got a little taste of it, and I want to keep going back.
that is not the first time I've heard that on this podcast. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think a few people said that they went to Africa for the first time. Maybe not South Africa, but like Tanzania or Namibia. And like, yeah, I need to go back and go to Kenya, and they want to go to all these countries across the continent. So it's interesting you say that because I've never been to Africa.
There's a barrier you have to get over. There's a few different barriers you have to get over in traveling, I think, to Africa. Been to Egypt before, but to me, North Africa is a completely different ballgame.
Yeah.
You have to get over a number of different barriers. For me,
Mm-hmm.
the first barrier to get over was cost, because when we take our big trips every summertime as a family, the first thing I have to think about is purchasing 4 plane tickets somewhere.
Yeah.
So I always start with the consideration of plane tickets and how much do they cost and how do I get there. Now, for those of us here in America, for Europeans, it's a lot easier to get to Africa. But for those of us here in North America, it is a big deal getting to Africa. There are
Mm-hmm.
very, very, very few direct flights, right? And if you want to travel to Africa cheaply, or at least somewhat reasonably, the cheap way to do that is to go from North America to Europe
Yeah.
on an overnight, and then another overnight or another full day Europe to Africa. So that's
Mm-hmm.
a barrier to begin with, because even though I'm a travel addict, I despise flying. Like, to me, flying is just like the medicine I have to take to get to a place.
Yeah.
So every time I go into the search engine, I go to Google Flights, like type in Tampa to Johannesburg or whatever. First of all, I don't like the price it's showing me. Second of all, I don't like the routing. So it's taken me so long to get over this flight deal, right? Like, okay, how am I going to get there and how much am I going to spend? So eventually I had to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to invest about $6,000 to get my family to Africa,
Yeah.
right? About $1,500 each, $1,500 each. And I paid a little bit extra to go directly. There's only 3 cities in North America, at least I believe, that I'm aware of, where you can fly directly to South Africa.
Okay.
And that is Washington, Dulles, okay, Newark, New Jersey,
New York,
just outside of New
New
York,
Jersey. Yeah.
and Atlanta, right?
Okay.
So there's 3 options to get to South Africa directly from North America, at least that I'm
Mm-hmm.
aware of. It's possible. There could be a Toronto one. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. So, and those are more expensive. because you're getting a 15-hour flight. You're banging the whole thing out in one fell swoop. Otherwise, you're talking about an 8 to 10-hour flight to somewhere in Europe, and then another long flight from somewhere in Europe. And you're just like, I know how I feel when I fly to Europe to begin with. You already feel like completely jet lagged. You get off of an 8 or 10-hour
it's
overnight
grim.
flight.
Grim.
You feel so tired. You want to go to a hotel or do something. You do not want to remain in the airport for a 2-3 hour layover and then take another long flight to Africa. So we paid the extra money. We got over the first Africa barrier by saying, I'm going to spend more money on airfare than I want to, but I'm just going to swallow that medicine, right? Because everybody told me South Africa will be reasonable once you get there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm willing to spend a crazy amount of money on airfare. So I invested the $6,000 in the airfare right off the bat, which is a heavy pill to swallow. And I paid a little bit extra to go straight there. So 15-hour flight from Washington Dulles to South Africa. And the flights were not that bad. Last summer, our big international trip was Japan. I think we talked about that. So it's almost the same duration as going to Japan from here. Very similar, right? And I always, for the four of us, I book window aisle in two different different things, right? And I just pray to God, please be merciful to us and let nobody come to those middle seats. And in both directions, nobody came on those middle seats, right?
It worked.
So it was not too bad. And then I think the other barrier with going to a country like South Africa is you're scared about the crime rate. So let's be honest about that, is that there's you look at the crime statistics and it is a little scary, right? You tell people you're going to South Africa and the first thing they think of is, oh, but isn't it dangerous? So for me, I don't worry too much about things like that. However, when I propose our annual summer trips to my wife, I have to explain to her, I have to be ready to answer such questions of, is it dangerous there? So one of the first things my wife said is, are you sure that's safe? And so you don't want to say, never having been there, you don't want to say, oh, of course, everything's going to be completely fine, never having been there. But I sold her that, I think it's going to be fine. Let's just do it. It'll be fine. And I'm happy to report that we spent nearly a month traveling around these three countries and had not only did we have no problems whatsoever, but I almost courted danger by going to a whole series of different townships. I went to many different poor places.
Yeah.
I did not stick to the touristy areas at all. And I encountered nothing but hospitality and kindness in these three countries. And it was just magic. Loved it.
Well, that's a great intro into the conversation because we are going to touch on the safety element, the places you went to, and budget as well. I want to touch on that. But actually, I want to ask you first, why South Africa? Like, there's plenty of options in Africa. What was the thinking there?
Great question. So first of all, the classic thing that most people want to do when they go to Africa is go on safari, right? And so there's a lot of different places you can go on safari in Africa, right? So I think East Africa is what people think of first as the classic safari destination of Africa. Is Kenya and Tanzania is number one.
Yeah.
Right. And Tanzania, a lot of people combine it, Kenya and Tanzania. They go to Serengeti, they go to Ngorongoro and whatever. And so I looked into that. And one big thing about that is the safaris are more expensive in Kenya, Tanzania. No question. South Africa presents better value.
Okay.
Now, never having been on a safari in East Africa before, I cannot compare them one-to-one. What is the South Africa safari like versus Kenya, Tanzania? Safari snobs and experts will tell you that Kenya, Tanzania is better. Whether they are correct or not, I don't know. But what I'll say is that it's also much more expensive, right? So for me, that's a major important factor, right? Also, why I preferred South Africa over there is not only is it less expensive to do safari, but to me, South Africa is a more interesting country to travel in because there's so many different things there that are not available in Kenya and Tanzania. Now, don't get me wrong. I really want to go to Kenya and Tanzania, so I'm not trashing those countries. But there's nothing like Cape Town in Kenya and Tanzania, for example.
True.
There's nothing like, to my knowledge, the Drakensberg Mountains, which is another area of South Africa that we visited in Kenya and Tanzania. There's Kenya and Tanzania also do not have an amazing wine country. Like they call it in South Africa, it's called the winelands.
Yes.
They do not produce world-class wines there. I think South Africa has so much to offer. The food, the culture, the variety of landscapes, the scenery. When I'm going somewhere for a month, which is, we're there for like 3.5 weeks or whatever, I want to go to a place that has it all, right?
Yeah.
So, because I'm
Hmm.
not going to be I'm not going on safari for 3, 4 weeks. I want to have a lot of things to do. And when I looked at what is there to do in Kenya, for example, there's a lot, but I didn't find like a month's worth of stuff I wanted to do there. So to me, South Africa's got more stuff going on in it, more cosmopolitan cities, more variety of locations, um, and just a ton of stuff to see. And I didn't see everything either. We spent all that time there, and there was stuff I didn't have time for. It's a large country.
Yeah, and I totally agree with the reason. I think when I look at the southern part of Africa continent, I know it's a bit of a cliche to say South Africa, but I think it does have that variety and that option to see different stuff. Whereas, yeah, like you say, other countries are maybe specific to one thing and they do it great, don't get me wrong. But there's no other options maybe to change up to go and see a bit of sport or whatever you want to go and see, right?
Yeah.
So for me, South Africa is always there because of the rugby and the cricket as well. That's kind of a dream of mine to go and
Yeah.
watch
It's a great
in the
sporting
future.
country, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, they love it. Okay, we're going to dip into some places that you visited. Normally based on your YouTube, actually, I've gone down and obviously done my research. So we've got a few places
Thank
here.
you.
We're going to start with the obvious one, which is Cape Town.
Yeah,
The Cape Flats. You went to the Cape Flats. Which can you tell people what they
I
are
did.
and what was your
And
experience
so the
there?
Cape Flats is, yeah. So the Cape Flats is sort of a notorious area of Cape Town. It's technically a suburb of Cape Town. It's east of the city. If you fly into Cape Town International Airport, you're going to fly right over it.
Hmm.
It is very close to Cape Town International Airport. It's a very notorious area. It supposedly has the highest crime rate or highest murder rates in South Africa, and the country as a whole already has one of the highest murder rates in the world. And so the Cape
Yeah.
Flats is one of the worst areas in the country in terms of crime rate, um, which is saying something in South Africa, right? But it's really an interesting area. I didn't want to go there on like a poverty tour. There are tours, like
Yeah.
organized tours where you go there and you do things like that. I wanted to go there, but I wanted to meet someone there who's working to try to change things and to improve the place. And so I wanted to find somebody who was doing work to try to work on the gang violence problem there.
Yeah.
And so I looked around, and I found a program and a priest, a very charismatic reverend, who works there as in this violence interruption program. And I visited the Cape Flats. It's an area it's basically sort of a manufactured area where during the apartheid area, they took this center city neighborhood and they took all of the black and colored people. Now I should explain the term colored too. In South Africa, in the United States, you don't use the term colored, but in South Africa, this is an actual term. It's an ethnic group.
Okay. Yeah.
People who are of mixed race are referred to as colored in South
Okay.
Africa, and they're very proud of that as well too. But um, mostly, the Cape Flats is mostly considered a colored community. These people were pushed out into this Cape Flats area away from the city. They were trying to essentially, during the apartheid area, um, basically take black and colored people out of the center of the city and push them out into this marginal area far from the city. And that's how this community was founded. But I spent, about a half a day meeting people, these so-called violence interrupters, out in the Cape
Oh.
Flats and learning
Hmm.
about what this community is like and the different problems that children face out there. And I'll tell you, one of the most sobering things I have ever seen in my life was while I was there. So this charity, they not only do they work on solving the gang violence problem, they also provide food to the impoverished
Yeah.
surrounding area too. So people come there and they get meals from them. And I happened to be there when a truck full of apples was arriving. All of a sudden, I'm interviewing people out in the street, and I see
Yeah.
children running, like actually running through the streets. And I said, "What's going? Where are they going? What's going on?" And they said, "Oh, the truck has just arrived with apples." And
Hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. It wasn't apples; it was oranges. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, these kids are running from all over the neighborhood to get an orange, and it was like pandemonium. I said, "Let's go over there and find out." We got over there. We went over by the truck. It was almost like a small riot. Is that these kids were so desperate to get an orange that they were fighting with each other in some cases of like, jostling and fighting to get to the truck where they were handing out these oranges from the back of a truck.
Hmm.
And it was incredibly sobering. They told me, these people who work in this charity, that children in this Cape Flats, they start getting hooked on drugs by these gang members at the age of 8, 10, 12 years old. And they develop gang affiliations from this incredibly young age. And it all sounded, that angle of it was also super depressing. But the good news is charities like this one and some other ones are really making inroads into trying to make this community better. So this community has a lot of problems and it has plagued by a lot of violence, but you find that even in places like this, there are amazing people out there who, and you'll meet some of them in my video if you watch it. If you watch my video about the Cape Flats, you're going to meet some amazing people. It's amazing that in a place like this, you can also meet some incredibly sweet and warm-hearted people who are working to try to make a difference in their communities. And the way that I was received there, if you watch my video, you'll see the way that people treated me there,
Hmm.
and the way people were so happy to talk to me, because they don't really get a chance to talk to outsiders, or visitors
Yeah.
don't really come there.
Yeah.
And I did not feel in danger there. Even they're telling me these stories about this thing happening, that thing happening. But when you're looking in people's eyes and talking to people,
Yeah.
they're just ordinary people. And that's the thing that that really surprises you, is that you hear all these horrible statistics and horror stories, and you think you're expecting, okay, the minute I get out of my car, I'm going to be, dodging bullets, or people are going to be mean to me, or people are going to, want to pull a knife on me, or you're going to feel like you're going to get robbed. And I didn't feel that way the entire time I was there. People were just normal, just people interacted with me just as a normal person. And they were as curious about me and where I come from as I was about them. And I love that kind of travel, like when I'm there and you can really connect with people one on one and learn about a place, learn about the problems of it. And then and also give something back too, because they're really curious about my country also too, because a lot of people I met that day have never even met someone from America before. Most Americans do not visit the Cape Flats, Cape Town, because it's a half hour away from Cape Town. And Cape Town, there's a lot of stuff to do in Cape Town, right? And it's a
I
beautiful
mean,
city.
yeah,
Um,
I commend you on that video, because I think this is crucial for people to see, especially for Cape Town. Like you say, there's so much content online where it doesn't show anywhere near this sort of stuff. So any video
yeah,
that we mentioned in this episode, I'll put in the show notes a link so people can
thank
click
you.
on it.
Yeah, so this guy, by the way, his
Yeah.
name too is Pastor Craven Engel. I want to give him a shout out too. So Pastor Craven Engel, really amazing guy. You'll meet him in this video. He also, what was interesting to me too, what was really eye-opening is, because as an American, you know about the history of South Africa, right? You know about
Yeah.
the terrible way that Black people there were treated during the apartheid system. But then this third group, the colored people of South Africa, before I traveled there, I didn't know anything about them. And
Yeah.
they're a very distinct group. Like they consider themselves different. Like, here in America,
Oh.
for
Huh.
example, like our president, Barack Obama, he was a mixed race person, but he
Yeah.
identified mostly as Black, and people referred to him as our first Black president and things like that.
Mm.
But if he were South African, he would not be called Black. He would be called colored. And they view themselves completely separately, and they have a lot of pride in their own group. But there's also quite an intense rivalry between them and other groups. And there's a lot of resentments. And I found out about those things during that day and during this, and I explained that a bit on video. They explained to me that there's a lot of resentment there too, because, they have something called Black economic empowerment in South Africa. And there are certain, jobs and percent that have to mirror the percentages of the country. And what they
Hmm.
were telling me is that, in the Cape Town area, in the Western Cape province, the colored population is something like 30 or 40% of the total. So they're very large percentage of the Cape Town and the Western Cape province. They're like a plurality. They're, in fact, I believe they said they're the largest group. They're larger than whites and Blacks. They're something like 40% of the population.
Hmm.
But they consider themselves to be the worst off of the three different groups, because they say that, the
Huh.
whites had all the power. They said during the apartheid era, their attitude was, we were not white enough to be privileged during the apartheid era. But
Mm.
now, during the era of Black economic empowerment, we're not Black enough to be eligible for the different affirmative action schemes that give hiring preferences to blacks in South Africa. And so this was super interesting too, because I was like, geez, I didn't know anything about this. So it's like, it's a very complicated country. And you can learn a lot just by going to unusual places like the Cape Flats.
Which kind of brings me on to the next question, actually, which is a bit of a big question. But how did you feel about the class and race divide in Cape Town, based on what you said there?
It's so weird, I mean, again, we're talking travel here, so I'm not going to get into politics, but I'll just say the backdrop of the trip was, Trump extended this refugee offer before we got there, right?
Yeah.
And so this made headlines all over the world because he was saying that, that white people can come to America as refugees, right? He created this
Yeah.
refugee program. And a lot of people were not too happy about this. I'm sure you have read. Obviously, some people liked it, but a lot of people were not. And it was super controversial.
Mm-hmm.
And especially black folks in South Africa were like, what? You're going to let some South Africans come, but only whites and, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was thinking this happened shortly before we left. And I was thinking, okay, as a white American, what's it going to be like traveling in South Africa after Trump has just cooked up this white refugee thing? And I really wondered, like, were people going to be asking me about it? Like, was there going to be some baggage involved? And it was very interesting because people did ask me about it and they wanted to know my opinion and stuff. And I had to say that, like, it was super interesting because South Africa is a really big country. And when we were in Cape Town, Cape Town has these amazing food markets. I'm telling you, the best food markets of any city I've ever traveled to in the world. You go to these really upscale food markets and it's like, wow, there's like rich white people around everywhere. And then you go out to the winelands and there's all these rich white people everywhere. And so in the first part of our trip, which was focused in the Western Cape, it was like kind of like laughable. We were like, white refugees? Like, this is madness. This is crazy. Like literally every white people we encountered seemed like they were very well off,
Mm.
But the weird thing is then we got at the end of our trip, we were up in, I always pronounce this poorly, but it's spelled Gauteng is the name of the province in South Africa, Gauteng or Gauteng, I think they pronounce it. Which is where Johannesburg and Pretoria are.
Yeah.
And then at that part of the trip, we started to actually meet poor white people. I'm like, okay, so there are actually, impoverished poor white people in this country, but they're not in Cape Town, at least for the most part. So South Africa, I learned, it's a very large and complicated country. It's very complex. You really need to travel around a lot of different areas of it to really get a feel for it. And yeah, so I mean, it's the racial element is there, and there's definitely race relations issues in South Africa. But I would say, as a tourist, here's the great part: as a white tourist, a white American tourist going there, you do not carry any of that baggage with you. So in other words, they don't just look at your skin color and treat you like as though you're an Afrikaner, right? So there may be coloreds or black people there who have not great feelings about Afrikaners or other white people in South Africa. But you are not viewed that way as an outsider, right? And so, because your accent, immediately they know that you are not from there, right? And so the way that we were treated by people of all colors in South Africa was amazing, right? Everywhere I went, and when you look on my channel, you're going to see videos of me, not just in the Cape Flats, but also of me in some black townships that are 100% black.
Yeah.
We went to one of them, a very, very poor Imizamu Yethu, which is a super poor improvised community on the outskirts of Cape Town, 100% black. You can watch me. You can watch me, the way people interacted with me there, how nice they were to me there.
Yeah.
You can watch me in Soweto Township. You can watch me in Alexandra Township. These places are 100% black. And you can see the way that I was treated. There was nothing but hospitality. Nobody was like, oh, you're American. Like, what? There was none of that. There was really none of that. I mean, the people were so nice. I love South Africans. I'm telling you, love them.
But this is what I love. And it kind of defines travel almost in a nutshell when you say these people showed you nothing but hospitality. That is the thing across the world, isn't it? On the majority of occasions, like wherever you go.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I think it's
and
just
you think there's going to be, you think that there's going to be baggage you think that, especially as an American traveling, that there's going to be baggage because we have like a very polarizing system, right? We also
Yeah.
have, let's say too, that, South Africa is also outside of obviously the Middle East. I would say it is also the most pro-Palestinian country in the world too. You see the
Ah, okay.
Palestinian flag all over the place.
Yeah.
And the South Africa is a country that initiated the war crimes
Yes, they did. Yeah.
prosecution
Yeah.
against Netanyahu in Israel, right?
Yeah.
So this is arguably the most pro-Palestinian country in the world. And we are the most pro-Israel country in the world outside
Mm.
of obviously Israel, right? By
Yeah.
far. And so I wondered about this stuff too. Like, we got the Trump refugee stuff going on, white refugees. We're the most pro-Israel country, pro-polarizing president. How people are going to feel about you? People are going to treat you as Dave, not as American X. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I love about people.
Yeah, and I think when you come from a British perspective, I'd be interested to see how they would react to a British person there, based on the history. But also, like British and Ireland, Ireland's very pro-Palestinian and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because they've
Ireland
been
is
under.
after South
Yeah.
Africa. Ireland and South Africa are the two. Yeah.
Well, these two countries have a lot in common based on what the British did, right? So I can
Yeah.
understand why they've got that sort of reaction to it, 100%.
Yeah. But
In terms of
it's amazing. Sorry, go ahead.
no, say in terms of Cape Town, can we just finish on Cape Town? The geography.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's an incredible place, isn't it? Like the Table
Oh
Mountain,
my God.
the setting. That is
Magic.
just unbelievable, isn't it?
Magic. But I got to tell you, like Cape Town, a big thing is about weather and when are you going to travel to a place, right?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how stressed I was about visiting Cape Town in a Cape Town winter because I'd heard a lot of horror stories about
Oh,
Cape Town
okay.
weather in the winter and their winter time. So we were traveling there end of May, beginning of June,
Oh,
which
okay,
is
yeah.
the beginning
Yeah,
of
yeah.
their winter.
Yes.
Cape Town can be very wet and cold, right?
Yeah.
And ideally, this is the city. It's so magnificent, the geography. You really want to experience it with some sunshine, right?
Yeah.
And our weather there was very sketchy. It was hit or miss. It would have been so much more beautiful with better weather. It was the only place, everywhere else we went in South Africa, the weather was perfect.
Okay.
Cape Town there, if you're going to go, try to go in the spring or fall. Their summer, okay, which is our winter, is very, very hot. Really try to go there at the right time of year because the weather there, first of all, it can be very windy.
Mhm.
And you go up to like famous Table Mountain, for example, which is an iconic place to visit, sites of
Yeah.
the city. You can't even go up there. So it doesn't even work.
Ah.
The figure doesn't even work when it's too windy and stuff like that, right? So for
Okay.
the first few days, we couldn't even go there.
Yeah.
We could not go to Robben Island the entire time. We were there 5 nights. Kept trying. Robben Island is, of course, where Nelson Mandela was there for
Yeah.
27 years in prison. And it's an island. You have to take a boat there. The boat does not run when it's too windy.
Mm.
So we could not go to Robben Island, which was disappointing because I really wanted to go there. So Cape Town is absolutely magnificent. However, to really enjoy it and appreciate the views, it'd be nice to have better weather. We did get to see it. I mean, the really ironic thing wasn't, I don't know, James, if you ever experienced this in your traveling career, but the very first day we flew in, let's say we got in at like 4 p.m., it was perfect. So it's like we're driving in from the airport and it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is the Cape Town of my dreams. This is it. And we were there 5 nights. So it's not like we were there 2-3 days, 5 nights, 6 days. It was never like that again. We never saw it with blue skies and like, the postcard,
Yeah.
imagery. We never saw it like that again. It was literally and it gets dark early. That's the other thing too.
Yes.
I'm sure you've experienced this in travel. When you're traveling during their winter, it's also getting dark at like 5:30 or 5 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is super inconvenient as a traveler. I love traveling like someplace where it gets dark in the summer at like 9 or 10 o'clock. Then it's like you've got all that extra time. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to go back in winter again if I could help it, but it is a magnificent city, Cape Town. The biggest surprise for me was the food. I cannot believe how good the food is in Cape Town. It's mind-blowing.
What is it? I don't even know what to expect.
Everything. I mean, it's everything. That's the cool thing about it. It's kind of like Toronto or Vancouver in that they've got every type of excellent ethnic restaurant you'd want.
Mm.
As I said, the food markets. I have one vlog on my channel just about the food markets in Cape Town.
Yeah.
Watch it because I'm showing you all the amazing food. I've never been to food markets this good in my entire life. Quality of the food, the quality of the baked goods, coffee. You're a coffee guy. I know from
I
watching your
am.
channel.
Yeah. Is it
The coffee is outstanding. They
is it
have a
expensive
type of
coffee?
cuisine called Cape. Nothing is that expensive there. That's another
Okay.
great thing we're getting into.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
So carry on.
prices there
Yeah.
compared to North America are, I'm going to say, like the restaurant prices are 30 or 40% less on average.
Oh wow.
And instead of 20% tipping, which we do here, over
Hmm.
there they do about 10% tipping.
Okay.
So you're saving half on the tip.
Yeah.
The bills are 30 to 40% less. So no, I did not think the coffee was very expensive. I didn't think anything was very expensive. The only thing that's expensive is going on safari. Other
Yeah.
than that, you're making out like a bandit, South Africa.
But sorry, I cut you off on the food market experience. Like, are we
Yeah.
basically seeing different cuisines from around the world, and they're cooked fresh? I
Yes,
imagine.
but they also have their own distinctive. Yes, but they also have their own distinctive cuisine too. So, first of all, barbecuing, which they call braaiing, is a
Okay.
national thing there. So, braaiing is like the thing there. Barbecuing, so barbecuing all kinds of different things. And
Yeah.
if you go on a nice safari too, they'll braai some really weird and interesting things for you too.
Can
Like
imagine.
we got crocodile. They give you some ostrich. If you're on
Okay.
a good safari, they'll barbecue up some interesting game for you. In Cape Town, they have a type of cuisine called Cape Malay cuisine.
Hmm.
Okay, which is it's almost like a mashup of Indian. So things almost taste like a butter chicken or a vindaloo or things like that. That
Yeah.
kind of curries.
Yeah.
Love that stuff. I can't get enough of it. So good. And then all the classics. Like they've got good Indian restaurants there. They've got good Chinese restaurants. They've got very good, here in the US we'd call them new American restaurants, but I guess just sort of creative cuisines. The food scene there in South Africa is mind blowing. I'm telling you, the restaurants and the chefs there, you can't believe how good they are.
Mm. Okay. Wow. I, I guess there's a difference between city food and maybe out in the country, right? Maybe the reserves and
Yeah.
stuff. They must eat different stuff.
So if you go to a good safari place, right? The food that we went on two safaris, one in Kruger National Park and one in a private game reserve.
Yeah.
We stayed at a place called Kruger Shalati, okay, which is a train on a bridge. I made a
Yeah.
vlog about this place, which you can see. But the food that I had at this place, gourmet food, first of all, it's kind of like being on a cruise in that you pay your price and then you're eating as much as you want and drinking as much as you want, right?
Hmm.
But the quality is insanely elevated, right? Because on a cruise ship, unless you're on a small ship where you're paying an unbelievable price, which I've never done before,
Yeah.
you're getting good quality food usually on a cruise ship. If it's a good cruise ship, you'll get good quality food and an abundance of it, as much as you want to eat, and you'll gain 5 pounds. On the safari, this safari, Kruger Shalati, you are getting insane gourmet food, like the kind of stuff that I never get because I don't go to restaurants that are that expensive, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to like a 5-star kind of like Michelin star caliber restaurant, right? But it's also unlimited. So like
Wow.
you show up at lunch and I could never decide. So I would just get 2 or 3 entrees and you can order as many of them as you wanted. I was literally a kid in a candy shop, James. The food was so gourmet that at every meal I was getting at least 2 things. So like at breakfast, I'd be like, okay, I'll have the breakfast burrito and I'll have the blueberry pancake, like whatever. It was insane. The caliber of food at Kruger Shalati. So first of all, too, this place is so unique. You are staying on a train in restored vintage train cars, okay? It's parked on a bridge
Yeah.
over the Sabi River in Kruger National Park. So you have herds of elephants coming by to drink from the river. You can
Wow.
see them right from your train car. Your train car, you've got an entire train car as your room you're sleeping in. This place, I mean, I'm telling you, this is the most unique. It is the most unique and outstanding place I've ever stayed at in my life. When you take everything into account, you're getting 2 game drives, you're getting insane gourmet food, you're seeing all these animals. You have a guide with you. We had this guide there Her name is Ayanda. I'll give her a shout out. So this young lady, um, it used to be that all the safari guides in South Africa, let's say 20, 30, 40 years ago, were like old white guys. And then eventually, after the fall of apartheid, then black guys got involved. Having a young female black guide is something that has happened only maybe, let's say, in the last few years that they've even been getting involved in this, right?
Hmm.
Our guide, Ayanda, when I first saw her, I thought, she looks like she's 20 or 21 years old. She looks so young. I thought, huh? This is our safari guide? I have to admit, I was like, wow, she looks so young. And you think initially too, is she going to know what she's talking about? Like, she
Yeah.
doesn't seem like old enough to even be doing this. The knowledge of this young lady was mind blowing. Oh my God. Every animal we come across, you see a bird from 100 yards away.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the whatever. You're just blowing your mind. You see, all these different animals. She'd tell you like, oh, this one's pregnant over there. It's pregnant? How the hell can you tell that? Like, I mean, it just blows your mind. Like these people, this young lady spent like 2 years studying everything you would ever like, devoting your life to really
Mm.
becoming a master, an expert about not just the animals, but the natural environment. She'll tell you what type of tree that is over there. Or she was telling us about the stars and the constellations when we were out and things like that. And it's like, to have all of those things put together, staying in this incredibly unique place, being on a train, seeing these animals, having a personal guide taking us out twice per day on these game drives, the quality of the food and the drinks and the barbecues and the entertainment. Like one night we came home from this is honestly, I think the one day that we had there, I think was probably the best travel day of my life. We just came back from this amazing game drive where we saw this one leopard. Now, leopards are so elusive,
Oh
folks.
yeah, they're
If
hard to
you've
see.
never been on a safari
Yeah.
before, getting to see a leopards, if you see one sometimes too, you only see it for like, there were a few
Yeah.
times we saw leopards and bam, as soon as they saw us, they dart away. It's like you see a leopard for like three or 10 seconds and you're happy. This one leopard that we saw, and I videoed him, he was walking, he was sauntering around right around our vehicle, like where he was like, I could have reached out and touched him. That's how close this leopard was to us.
Wow.
This leopard, like my heart was beating so fast. I was thinking to myself, oh my God, this leopard is right here, right next to us. It was like, it was the most amazing sighting I've ever had in my life. And then we come back from this mind blowing game drive and the staff is all out and decked out at Kruger Shalati. They're all decked out and they're singing these magnificent voices, right? They've
Mm.
got their own, like, basically choir, I guess I would call it there, where they sing traditional African songs. So they greeted us as we come back on the vehicles. Picture this. You come back from your game drive, and there are these bonfires they have set up for you, right? They're preparing the braai. There are bonfires set up. So there's fires, there's a choir out who's serenading you as you get off of your safari vehicle, right? So you hear this wonderful African music, these beautiful voices. Behind them, you see the fires of all the meats
Yeah.
cooking and everything, right? So it's like you can smell the dinner cooking, right? Over the open fires. You're hearing this wonderful, glorious music and these people dancing, right? And I was thinking, you couldn't wipe the smile off my face. I was just like, I could not dream of a better day of travel than this.
Mm.
Being treated to these insanely awesome meals, right? Getting serenaded by this incredible choir, and then meeting all these other interesting people. And that's the other cool thing about safaris, too, is that because you're spending all this time on these game drives, you get to know the other people in
Yeah.
your vehicle really well. And so we had, I don't know, like let's say 6 or 8 people in our vehicle, which it wasn't, they did it really nice because sometimes if you see, sometimes you'll drive by, you'll see other safari vehicles and they're so packed in, you're like, oh my
Yeah. Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
that looks awful. I'm so glad we weren't like that. Really might have 16 people in a vehicle or something like that.
Mm.
We didn't have that, but let's say we had 6 or 8 people, but you get to know all these other couples so well. So we made all these great friends, on safari, people that we really, really liked, and getting to come back after an amazing game drive and then sharing some really great South African wines and these amazing braai barbecue experience with people as they're putting on a show for you while you're eating with the dancing and the singing and everything. I mean, it was like, it was just spectacular. I wish that everybody, if you're a traveler, you got to experience that once in your life.
And can you give an idea, because it sounds absolutely incredible, an idea of price?
That is, it's, so it's very hard to say. What I'll tell you is that, like, I think what I have heard as a good rule of thumb is that you're probably going to spend something like, what is a good rule of thumb here? So first of all, let me give you a word of warning, is that everything depends upon the number of people in your family for this type of
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not like here in the US where the hotel price is going to be the same whether you put one person in the room or four people in the room.
Yeah.
It's per person, all the price of these things, right?
Yeah.
Because you're taking up a seat in the safari vehicle, you're eating the food, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot will depend upon how many people are in your family. Like if you're a solo traveler, you're going to pay 25% of the price that I paid, roughly,
Yeah.
because I went
Yeah.
with four people, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'll tell you that, like, the price could be, it's also, again, it's heavily dependent on when you go.
Mm-hmm.
High season, low season, shoulder season. But I'll tell you, you're probably going to spend something like between $500 and $1,000 per day per person. Now that's a large
Okay.
range, but it's going to
Yeah.
be something like that. And it sounds insanely expensive, and it is. I'm not going to minimize the cost. But when you think about, first of all, you're only going to do this for, like, we went to Krugersalati for 2 nights. Now, I had to be like almost dragged out of this place after the 2 nights because I would have liked to have stayed for like a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so you're not going to, like, if we were in South Africa for 3.5 weeks, right? You go somewhere
Yeah.
for a couple of nights and you're splurging on those nights, right? So you have to consider this a massive splurge. You have to factor in also, you're not going to spend any other money when you're on safari. You're all in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're entertaining you, your game drives, your food, your drinks, your everything. So it's completely all inclusive. You're not going to spend another dollar on those days whatsoever. So
Mm-hmm.
it's expensive, but it's absolutely worth it.
Ready for an adventure that's raw, real, and totally unforgettable? Then join me, James Hammond, on my first ever guided tour of El Salvador from November 19th to 29th in 2026. We'll hike volcanoes, wander around colonial towns, learn to cook pupusas, and chill at black sand beaches. Spots are limited to 12 travelers with a minimum of 6 to book, and there's an early bird pricing of $3,995 US dollars. That includes hotels, airport transfers, transportation, meals, and all the rest. So grab your backpack and book your spot. The link is in the description, or you can scan this QR code to book right now. Let's explore El Salvador together. See you there. I don't think it's that bad, actually, considering some of the prices I've heard of some safaris in many countries in that area, right? So I think actually I was a bit pleasantly surprised by your price point there. Yeah.
Well, you know what's crazy about it is too, and it varies by season too, but what's crazy about it there is that the minibar is free.
Oh.
So in the room, so my entire life, I've been telling my children, don't touch anything in the minibar.
Yeah.
Right? My kids have been to almost 50 countries. They have never been allowed to patronize a minibar anywhere in the world in the 40 some odd countries they've been to, except at Krugersalati, because they told us everything in the minibar is free. And it's a very lavish minibar. There's hard alcohol.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't tell them to have that.
Yeah.
But there's beer. There's beer. There's hard alcohol. There's really high quality snacks and everything. You can eat as much as you want and drink as much as you want from the minibar. And at the end, there was a really cool surprise on checkout morning. We came back from our final game drive, right? And we're checking out that day. Have you ever stayed in a hotel where they preemptively clean your room before you check out?
No.
We came back. So, like, checkout time is at noon or, whatever it is, right? But you've got your morning game drive, which is at like 6 a.m. So you leave very early in the morning for the game drive. We came back from our morning game drive and we were went back up to our room to get freshened up for breakfast. We came back and we're like, oh my God, they actually cleaned our room, even though we were about to check out. It was like, they cleaned our room. And then the biggest surprise was they have a valet parking thing there. They're like, our car had been really filthy because we were traveling through, all kinds of dusty dirt roads to get there. So it was caked in mud and stuff like that. They washed and vacuumed all the cars. So like everybody was checking out.
Wow.
Yes.
That is
I was just
insane.
like, I've been waiting my whole life to stay at a hotel that washes and vacuums my car for me. The level of service was mind blowing.
Mind blowing. Yeah. And just to finish on this experience, just for people, obviously you saw all the animals, right?
So So this first experience in the national park,
Yeah.
we did not see every animal. The only
Okay.
animals that I would have liked to have seen, we saw everything we could possibly want to see except for rhinos and
Okay.
cheetahs.
Okay.
But we saw a lot. I mean, we saw everything else
Yeah. Okay.
you could imagine.
And the other experience, was that in South Africa or was that in another country?
Yes. So that was
Okay.
also, and so we went on a couple of other safaris. Now,
Yeah.
we went on another safari in a private game reserve
Okay.
called Kurongwe. Now, there are several private game reserves which border Kruger National Park in South Africa. And in those, you are going in there, and the major difference between those and Kruger National Park is on Kruger National Park, you have to stay on the roads.
Ah, I see.
Now, in Kruger National Park, safari vehicles must stay on the roads.
Yeah.
And the roads are, some of them are dirt roads in the national park, and some of them are pavement, tarmac.
Yeah.
In the private game reserves, they off-road you.
Okay.
So ostensibly, you can get to see more animals. Now,
Yeah.
in the private game reserve, we also saw rhinos. So
Okay.
we did end up seeing all of the big five.
Mm.
No cheetahs. Cheetahs are not in the big five. That was the one animal I was looking for. I did not find. Saw everything else. But I will tell you that if you Google what is better, staying in the national park or going to private game reserves,
Yeah.
most quote unquote safari experts will tell you the private game reserves are better. They're also usually more expensive.
Yeah.
Our experience, and I don't want to trash the place that we stayed at in Karangwe because it was very nice. We did not see as many. It was very
Ah.
counterintuitive.
Yeah.
I think you'll agree with me here too, James, but in travel, so much of your experience is based on expectation. And I've been told by everybody, all the so-called experts, that I was going to see more in the private game reserve than in the national
Mhm.
park. So we saw a ton in the national park. And then afterwards, we went to the private game reserve next. So when we were starting in the private game reserve, I was thinking my expectation was up here.
Yeah.
I was thinking, wow, we already just saw an insane amount of stuff in the national park. Now we're going to see twice as much. And we did not. I would say it's hard to say, I would say we saw less, in fact, in the private game reserve. And there were days, I'll tell you something about safaris, people. If you've never been on a safari before, I'm going to give you some awesome advice. 2 great pieces of advice. So first of all, you have to understand there's a lot of luck involved with safaris. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are going to have game drives that are going to stink, probably. If you go on enough game drives, right? Usually, if you pay for a safari, you're going to get 2 game drives per day, right?
Mhm.
So we did 2 nights in one place, 3 nights in another. So we had 5 nights of safari. That means 10 game drives. Okay.
Yes.
Out of 10 game drives, I would say 3 or 4 of them were mind-blowingly awesome. 3 or 4 of them were decent, like where we saw some stuff, but there was also a lot of spells of boredom where we might have been driving around for an hour and not seeing anything. And 2 or 3 of them were like, we saw like very little.
Mm.
So here's a good piece of advice for you, because you're thinking about, all right, well, a common question is, if I'm going on safari, how many nights should I book? And I will say, clear out every dollar from your bank account and stay for as long as you can. because if you book a safari for one night, and you're only getting 2 game drives,
Oh, risk.
you're
Yeah.
you're going to the casino. Like,
Yeah,
it depends.
yeah.
You're playing roulette. You might have an awesome experience and you might not. The more game drives you can afford, you're offering yourself a better chance of really seeing stuff. And if you go on a safari and your first game drive is not mind-blowing, where you're like, damn, I didn't see very much, just wait.
Mhm.
Because your luck can change in a second. I mean, we had a couple of experiences where it was like, I remember there was one game drive where, I swear to God, we must have driven around for like an hour and a half or 2 hours and saw like nothing. And I was thinking to myself, my God, what is going on here? You start thinking too, like, we paid all this money and where the fuck are the animals? You can really start to
Curse.
kind of get pissed off, like, fuck are the goddamn animals, And then all of a sudden, like, there was this one game drive for like 2 hours. We saw not a damn thing. And I was getting so bored. Literally, one of my kids was falling asleep. Like, one of my sons was literally sleeping in the back of the safari vehicle. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, and you see one thing. And then 10 minutes later, you see another and another and another. Your luck could like change so quickly. So it's very haphazard. So you could go to the same private game reserve I went to and see 10 times as many things as I did.
Yeah.
So that's the first piece of advice is that there's a lot of luck involved, and the more game drives you have, the better your chances are. Second piece of advice I'm going to give you is do not compare notes with the other travelers staying at your safari lodge about what they saw.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're going to go out in a fleet of different vehicles, right? So like you'll go out in the morning, you all go out at 6 a.m. same time, but you disperse into different vehicles. And you're heading off in different directions. Now, they do communicate to each other on radio, right? So if your guide has an awesome sighting, unless they're a jerk, they will communicate that sighting to the other people and say, there's a leopard over blah, 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 wherever. But that doesn't mean you and the other vehicle are going to get to it, because by the time you come, if you're far away, by the time you go to try to find that leopard might not be there, right? So naturally, though, after you get back from these game drives, travelers, it's natural to compare notes, isn't it?
Yes.
What did you see in your vehicle?
Yeah.
Oh, this really got to me when we were at the private game reserve, because there were a lot of times in the private game reserve, we stayed there 3 nights, where we were just striking out. We were completely striking out.
Yeah.
We had a few game drives where we saw like almost nothing. And then we come back and people were like, oh my God, look at these photos of these cheetahs we just saw. And you'd be like, Jesus Christ. And it drives you crazy.
Yeah, it
like,
does.
We just spent 3 hours driving around and seeing nothing. And these people are showing me on their phone like close-up photos of cheetahs, and I haven't seen cheetahs yet. And it can really mess with your mind. And so I would say resist the temptation to compare sighting notes with people in other vehicles. Only compare notes with the people who are in your vehicle.
Yeah. Okay. That does remind me of my experience in India this year. We did 1 game drive and we luckily saw elephants. Incredibly lucky.
That is good lucky. Okay, so wait. All right, so let me summarize for people. We talked about Cape Town. We talked about safari. Any more questions about safari? Otherwise, there's a couple other regions I want to tell you about.
No,
right,
let's move on.
Let's move on, right? All right, so we talked about Cape Town. We talked about safari. Those are the 2 big ones.
Yeah.
You got a little more time to spend in South Africa. Here's where else I think you should go. So first of all, the Drakensberg Mountains. Absolutely beautiful. I love this region so much. There are, aside from the hiking in the mountains and the fresh air and everything, there are Bushmen paintings. So the Bushmen are ancient people who lived a very, very long time ago. And I love things like this, where they have these paintings, which are some of them are hundreds of years old. Some of them are thousands of years old. You go on these hikes to see these Bushmen paintings from long, long, long ago. I love doing stuff like that. We stayed at a place, mark this down, people. James, put it in your show notes, put a link to this place. I'm telling you. All right, so I told you about Kruger Shalati. That was my number 1 recommendation. My other top recommendation of this entire trip is to go to a place called The Cavern.
Okay.
Cavern. The Cavern in the Drakensberg Mountains. This place is a South African institution. It has been there since the 1940s, run by a remarkable family who still lives here at this place. It's very remote, okay? You stay there. It's a mountain getaway, and everything, again, is inclusive. They have gourmet food that is so good, and you can get as much of it as you wanted. I'll give you one example, since I know you're an eater like me, okay?
I am.
One night they had pepper steaks, okay? This was the most delicious pepper steak I've ever eaten in my life. It had a rich pepper sauce gravy on it, okay? Caliber of the meat. You'd think, in the U.S., I'm sorry, you go to an all-you-can-eat place, they're not going to serve you a high-caliber steak.
Absolutely not.
This was absolutely magnificent, this steak, okay? And then my son and I ate it. We ate it so good. We're like, oh my God, that might have been like one of the best steaks we've ever had. The waiter comes over. Would you like another round of steak?
Yeah.
You're damn right we would. We got second steaks coming over. It's just like this place is, and the desserts too. Oh, I'm telling you, man. I mean, like, the food at this place is gourmet quality. And here's the weird thing, okay? The alcohol is not included at this place, okay? But here's the kicker. They've got a wine cellar you go down into, right? Where you go down and pick your own wine from the cellar, okay?
Yeah.
They have wines there starting at 75 Rand, okay? A bottle. 75 Rand is a little less than $4.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're talking about a 4-star hotel 4-star hotel kind of resort place that has bottles of wine for $4. Never in my life have I experienced such a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, since I'm a cheapskate and I was also curious, I wanted to know, what are these $4 bottles of wine like? So both nights we were there, we stayed the 2 nights, I ordered a $4 bottle of wine. And I want to tell you, these $4 bottles of wine they have there are very drinkable and very good. Okay. So this is the resort that has gourmet food. It has $4 bottles of wine, which is insane for me for a 4-star resort, right? And here was the thing that I liked best is I love going on hikes, but what I like even better than going on a hike by myself or with my family is a guided hike. So they have 2 guided hikes every morning that you can go out with.
Okay.
So you're going out with a local guide.
Yeah.
And these guys are awesome. I loved these guides because they're telling you stories. They're telling you all about the local culture. So the local culture there, they're Zulus who work there, right?
Yes.
So these guys are telling us all about Zulu culture. Now, I did one vlog you'll find on my channel about Zulu culture, and it's all based upon the interesting stuff about the Zulus that my hiking guide told us about. And if you're a dog lover, they've got 2 beautiful dogs at this place. And one of the dogs, whose name is Lucy, likes to hike. So Lucy comes with you on the morning hikes.
Amazing.
So you get to hike with this amazing dog out to see these Bushmen paintings. Again, I talked about sometimes in travel, you have these amazing days.
Yeah.
For me, when I can spend a day hiking going on a beautiful hike with a very knowledgeable guide who's telling me all about the Zulus and the culture and everything, and with a really cute, fun dog, and I'm served gourmet food, and this place also has cheap massages, and I got one of the best massages of my entire life after the hike. It was just like I was on cloud 9. It was like, again, I stayed there 2 nights. Oh my God, would I have liked a week at the Cavern? This place is absolutely epic. So
Okay.
Drakensberg Mountains, go to the Drakensberg Mountains, go to the Cavern. Then the last thing I want to tell you guys about is that there's 2 little countries inside South Africa. And when you're in South Africa,
Yes.
if you're a country collector like me, or if you're just a person who's very curious, you got to go to Lesotho and Eswatini while you're there. Do it.
What is the logistics like of getting to those?
No visa needed if you're an American or a Canadian.
Yeah.
And I believe most of the countries of Europe. The only rub is your rental car company. So we rented a car for this entire trip.
Oh,
Your rental car company, those rascals, will charge you some ridiculous price to get a letter stating that you are authorized to bring the rental vehicle into Lesotho and Eswatini. And I think I paid almost $100 per letter. I think it was like the equivalent of like $75 per country, right? Like the way things go often in life, when I got to these 2 borders, did they ask me for this letter, which was supposedly required? No, they did not. So I had 2 very expensive $75 letters that no one ever asked me for. But I guarantee you, if you don't pay for that $75 letter, they probably will ask you for it at the border.
Yeah.
But they're supposedly required to bring a rental car into those 2 little countries. But that's the only rub, that's the only logistical rub of visiting those 2 countries, of adding those 2 countries into your South Africa itinerary. And you absolutely should do so. So should we start with Lesotho and I'll tell you why to go there?
Yeah. One more question actually about South Africa.
Sure, go ahead.
Durban is on my bucket list to go and watch cricket there on Boxing Day.
Yes.
What did you make of it as a city and a vibe?
So Durban, we were only there for 1 night, and we stayed in a suburb of Durban called Umhlanga, but I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. And I did not have enough time to give a proper exploration of Durban. But Durban it's a city that has a huge Indian population.
Okay.
So I think one of the major reasons to go there would be to eat Indian food.
Yeah.
And it also has beautiful beaches. So where we stayed, Umhlanga, the beaches are absolutely spectacular. Mm-hmm. And again, if you're going there during North American or European summer, like when we were there in June, and you want spectacular weather, that's a great place to go. Because we were there, it was probably 75 degrees and sunny, which is like 25 Celsius, 27 Celsius.
Yeah.
Weather perfect, beaches beautiful. So I think that like if you want beaches and beach weather, okay, in the wintertime, Durban and in the area north of Durban where we were would be a great place to go.
Mm-hmm.
But Durban, the city itself, we did not stay in the city. I will give you a fair warning. It has a reputation for crime. And so, again, we also finished our trip in Johannesburg. We spent 2 nights in Johannesburg. Johannesburg has a massive reputation for crime.
It does. Yeah.
And I love Johannesburg. So I am not prepared to tell you do not go to Durban because it has a reputation for crime, because people say do not go to Johannesburg. And I love Johannesburg. To me, Johannesburg was super interesting.
Okay. We'll come back round to Africa to finish the episode.
Yeah.
Just a couple more questions, but let's get into Eswatini and Lesotho. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. So let's start with Lesotho because we went there first. So Lesotho is called it's called the Kingdom in the Sky.
Yeah.
It is the only country in the world that exists solely above 1,000 meters, right? So there's no low low elevations in this country. It is a beautiful mountainous country. It is one of the only countries in Africa where they get snow fairly regularly.
Oh.
Yes, and they do have a ski resort there. And when we arrived, it was funny. They were telling us, "Oh, it's too bad you're not coming next week because it's supposed to snow next week." And I was like, "But I don't want snow. I grew up in Buffalo. I've seen enough snow. I don't need to see snow in Africa, but I know it's a big time novelty." We stayed in a place called Maliba Lodge, Maliba Lodge. Now, this is a super unique place. It's inside of a national park in a very remote, mountainous area in northern Lesotho. I recommend this place too. Boy, is it interesting. You feel like you're on another planet. I have not seen the stars so well as this Maliba Lodge. You're in the middle of nowhere and you're staying in a rendezvous. So a rendezvous is, if you picture in your mind, looking at like a National Geographic magazine from 50 years ago of like where Africans lived, the type of dwellings that they lived in, they're called rendezvous. And some rendezvous in some villages are made from like, palm fronds or things like that, but they're traditional sort of African dwellings. And these are traditional African dwellings you stay in, but completely pimped out inside, where it's like a luxury hotel, where it looks like from the outside a traditional African dwelling that belongs in a rural village in Africa. But inside you've got the all modern columns, as you guys would say in Great Britain, right? And I love this place. I went on a tour here. I want to give a shout out to my guide here. His name is Holly. Okay. This guy, Holly, took me on one of the best tours I've ever had in my life in Lesotho. We spent a full day with him, and he works out of the Maliba Lodge. But I've got his phone number on my vlog. So if you look at my YouTube channel and you watch my videos about Lesotho, you will see his phone number, his WhatsApp phone number in the show notes and on the screen. If you go to Lesotho, you got to promise me you'll hire this guy. He does not charge a lot. He's very reasonable. He gave the most mind-blowing and excellent tour I have ever had. He took us to, you'll see if you go to my YouTube channel, you see where he took me. But first of all, we went to a school, and we spent a couple of hours at a elementary school in Lesotho. I cannot tell you how much I love that, getting to meet all these children. They sang for us, they danced for us. We got to feed them lunch. We got to see how tough life is for people in Lesotho. This is one of the poorest countries in the world, okay? And again, with politics intervening with things, right before we got there, the Trump administration levied the biggest tariff of any country in the world on Lesotho, just randomly. Lesotho's tariff rate that was slapped on them was number one. List of 193 UN countries. Lesotho was at the top, baby. Number one, highest tariff we levied on them of any country in the world. Now, thankfully, after several months of negotiation, they were able to whittle that down. So they did not end up getting levied with the number one tariff, but they were threatened with such. And so when we arrived there, they declared a state of national emergency, a state of disaster, based upon this tariff threat. Because just based upon the threat of those tariffs that they were coming in a few months or whatever, all of these textile factories and others started closing down. So a lot of people in Lesotho were already losing their jobs when we visited, right? And so I wondered again, like, how are we going to be greeted as Americans in this small country that just slapped them with the highest tariffs in the world? The state of emergency has been declared, and it's all because of us, right? And there aren't a lot of American tourists there. So when are people going to want to string us up when we get there? And once again, not at all. People they don't blame you at all. Nice people in Lesotho, but it is a super poor country. And when you visit a school there, my family, we were able to. They said, okay, you're going to help us feed the children because everybody there gets a free lunch, which is provided to them. All the school children get a free lunch provided by the government. The government sends workers out to every school in the country and gives children. It's like it's almost like a gruel they're being served. Like what you would imagine. It is like a porridge they're being served. It's called pap. and it's like a
Okay.
cornmeal porridge, and it had peas in it. So the only protein they were getting were like a splash of peas, right?
Yeah.
And each child brings his own little bucket, and they give him something. And some kids literally didn't even have a bucket; had to share the bucket with other people. And the amazing thing is, none of them complain about it, like, because they don't know any
Mm.
better, right? That
Yeah.
like, no one's saying, "Well, I would rather have like some McNuggets or a burrito," right? Because
Yeah.
that's not, they're getting that same gruel every day. And the principal told us that a lot of these children, that is the only meal that they will get that day,
Wow.
is the government lunch they're being served, right?
Wow. Yeah.
But so you'd think the kids would be moping around and unhappy, but they're not because they're children, and they're still running and playing and having fun and singing for us and doing all these things. And you're thinking, like, you understand, you get such an amazing perspective traveling in a very poor country. And we were in a very rural area of Lesotho too. We did not go to the capital city of Lesotho, Maseru. We just went to this rural area up in the north. And so we're in a rural area of the poor country, and we spent time at the school. We spent time, we went to go visit a medicine woman, a fortune teller slash medicine lady in a
Okay.
very crazy rural village. I made a video about that too.
Yeah.
And I dubbed her the world's least accurate fortune teller because every single thing she said about us was completely incorrect. But I loved it anyways. The whole experience of it, of
Yeah.
being in her hut, and she was rolling these bones and doing all this wild stuff. I couldn't. I loved this woman. I could not get. She was spectacularly inaccurate, but I loved listening to her. And then we went to a like their version of a craft brewery, which was a
Oh,
family,
wow.
a couple, a married couple who lives
Yeah.
in like who lives in a room that's, let's say, 10 foot by 10 foot large, and they've got their bed in one corner of the room and a vat of like this corn beer that they brew, or no, not corn beer, what's it called, sorghum beer, that they brew in the other corner of the room that they live in. And they got a bunch of regulars who hang out there and drink this stuff all day long. And they have it in these big vats, and they pass it around to each other. So when we were there, they had a group of regular drinkers who I imagine this is like their everyday job. They go
Yeah.
there at
The
10
water.
a.m. and they
Yeah.
until their wives call them home for dinner each night. This is what they go there, and they pass it around the jug, right? And so we got to taste the sorghum beer and meet all the Lesotho alcoholics who were hanging out day drinking in a bar. I mean, it was, and then the best part of it was, though, so this is a country full of shepherds, okay, and herders, cattle herders and such, right? And so the big thing about Lesotho is the major element of their culture are the blankets. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
herders and the shepherds there wear these very beautiful blankets, which if you go to my YouTube channel, you will see I interviewed many of these shepherds. These guys look so great. I gotta tell you, I mean, they're beautiful people to begin with in Lesotho, right? They're all basically from the same tribe, the Basotho tribe.
That's so.
They're
Yeah.
very handsome. The Basotho are very handsome people to begin with, but they've got these beautiful blankets that they wear, right? The rural people wear these beautiful
Mm.
blankets. And the interesting thing is, I got to talk to so many of them and learn their culture. There's very detailed stuff about the blankets there. Blankets are a very big deal in Lesotho. Even the king wears blankets there. And the number of blankets you wear is based upon the number of cattle you have. And so
Ah.
if you're a big honcho who has a lot of cattle, you can have up to 3 blankets that you wear draped on top of each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a small time guy who doesn't have very many animals, you get 1 blanket, right? So, and I asked them, but what about in the summertime when it's very hot? Do they
Yeah.
take off the blankets? No, 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 no. If you are a big enough man, if you're a big man who's got 3 blankets, you wear those 3 blankets even if it's blazing hot, if it's 35, 40 degrees Celsius. And so, because it's a matter of stature and pride, the
Yeah.
blankets in Lesotho. And so that's something, I purchased a blanket when I was there, a Lesotho blanket. And that's a really important element of the culture, is these blankets. And so when you are driving around rural Lesotho, James, and I know you're a traveler who's just like me, you love to go somewhere really different. I've never been in a place in my entire life where I wanted to photograph every single person that I drove by. Lesotho was such a place.
Mm.
The most photogenic people I've ever seen in my life. You're driving around and you're seeing these shepherds and these herders in their colorful blankets. I stopped the car for like every shepherd in Lesotho and met so many of them. And they're nice too. And it was amazing. I love Lesotho.
Okay. So for Lesotho, definitely worth a little diversion if you're in South Africa.
Absolutely. I stayed there
Yeah.
2 nights. I would have liked maybe 1 more.
Yeah. But quite a small country, I'd imagine, though. But mountainous.
You know what? You know what? It looks like a small country on the map.
Yeah.
It's a very large country when you get there because of the roads and the mountains.
Yeah.
So, like, we stayed up in a rural corner of the country in the north in Malibu Lodge. There were other areas of the country at points of interest that I wanted to visit, James.
Yeah.
But then when you'd plug them in Google Maps, you'd be like, wait a minute, it's 7, 8 hours away. What? How could that be?
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So there were places I wanted to go that were a 7 or 8 hour drive away I didn't have time for.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
it seems like a small country, but it actually isn't.
Okay. How would you get there if you didn't have a car?
So you can fly into the capital city,
Oh, okay.
but the flight connections are not great. There are flights into the capital city from either Cape Town or Johannesburg. So you'd fly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You can do that way. But to get around the country,
But
you need
once
a
you get
car.
there, oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Let's go to Eswatini,
Yeah.
known as the former name of Swaziland back in the day. If people can reference
And I
that
like
back
the,
into the
and I like
past.
Swaziland better too. You know, I'm just going to call it Swaziland too because and I asked the people there too, what do you like better? And most of them admitted to me they preferred Swaziland. So the king changed the name back in King Mswati III. He changed the name
Ah,
back in I think it was 2018,
yeah, to his
sort
name.
of at his own whim.
Yeah.
And so he changed it to Eswatini. And yeah, the king is an interesting guy in Eswatini. So first of all, this country has the claim to fame of it is the last absolute
Absolute.
monarchy
What
in
does that
Africa,
mean?
which means that so what it means is that everything that happens in this country is at the behest of the king. So there's other kings in
Ah, right.
Africa, but they're like figureheads, or
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
figureheads, or they might have some power, but they don't have absolute power. The king is an absolute strong man. The king is
Okay.
the man in Eswatini, and he's got 17 wives.
Okay.
And we got to crash a birthday party where one of his wives, I think it was his ninth or 10th wife, they said, was there. So we got to catch a glimpse of her.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And we caught a glimpse of the king at this one ceremony too. But like the king is the man there.
And why stop at 17 wives? Why not go to 18?
Well,
What's the
he's
process
going
for
to.
that?
So
Oh,
first
okay.
of all, he's going to. He's not done. He's absolutely not done. So we met someone in Eswatini, and I can't tell you who they are because she, she still lives there. So I don't want to sell anybody down the river. But she told
Yeah.
me that her daughter, okay, is a high school student in Swaziland,
Right.
and one of her classmates was picked by the king. So this is what he does: is they have something every August there called the Reed Ceremony, okay, where thousands of virgins come to the capital city and they participate in this Reed Festival, okay, where they are topless, and the king often chooses girls at this Reed Festival to be a wife of his. Now, a couple of years ago, he chose this high school girl who was in the same class as her daughter
Yeah.
to be the wife number 18. And her family did not want to do that. She did not want to be wife 18.
Oh, interesting.
And so, but you cannot refuse the king. So they actually fled the country.
God. Wow.
Very sad. But that's the way it works. If you get chosen by the king and you don't want to be chosen, you are out of luck.
So is it a society where you can't even obviously say anything against the king or the royal family? That's a big no-no.
Oh, absolutely. So I love reading local newspapers wherever I go.
Yeah.
And one time when we were there, we were at the supermarket, and there were a bunch of different local papers. And I asked a guy, I said, which of these papers is the most interesting or best one? He said, oh, he said, to be honest with you, they're all garbage. I said, really? Why is that? And he said, because you can't print. He said, because, the government controls everything and you
Yeah.
can't say anything negative. He said, it's all propaganda. He said, he said, where are you from? I said, America. I said, oh no. He said, you wouldn't want to read, want to read any of that. It's
Right.
all propaganda. He said,
Okay.
yeah. So there's
Um,
another place we should talk about. I'm just,
yeah.
blanking out I'm just going to check on my YouTube. Here it is. So
Dombeya?
what is, yes, thank you. Dombeya Game Reserve. Boy, you've got a good memory. Geez,
Yes.
better than me. I actually went there and I forgot the name of the darn place. You
Yeah.
never admitted it.
Well, I saw your
So,
videos and I thought this looks incredible. So had to ask
so
you
this
about it.
place Dombeya. So this was a very different kind of safari. So this was the third
Yeah.
safari. This was the third safari we went on, but this one was so different than the other two because so this place Dombeya, this is a very small game reserve, okay? And it's run by just a delightful couple, an American woman who has a British husband. So American British duo who founded this
Okay.
place, but with a lot of help from local people. And so this place, it's kind of like an Airbnb sort of setup where they've got several different freestanding houses.
Yeah.
So cottages or whatever. And you are out in your own area with your own cottage, right? We had a 2-bedroom cottage out there, right? Man, watch my video, people. This place was so nice. Um, and this was totally unlike the other safaris because no game drives, right? No
Oh,
predators, no
okay.
predators, no game drives. These are
Yeah.
hiking safaris. So they've got lots of animals there. They've got zebras, they've got warthogs, they've got giraffes, but none that will kill you. All right.
Huh.
So they've
Interesting.
got hiking trails all around the place and a great variety of bird life. Like the couple who founded this place, they're big time birders.
Mm-hmm.
They're a wonderful couple too. And they've got little birding huts set up for you to watch the birds and things like that. And they've got all kinds of walking trails. So in this experience, we got to walk right like steps away from giraffes. And like
Wow.
I've been around giraffes before, like at zoos, you've seen them in zoos
Mm.
and things like that. But just to be out on a hiking trail and come around a bend and oh my God, there's 3, 4, 5, 6 giraffe. It's a wild experience. And then you feel a little sense of fear, like, wait a minute, should I be doing this? But then they
Yeah.
tell you, oh, you'll be fine. Like they're not going to kill you. And it's a really interesting feeling. And also with the warthogs too. You ever seen what a warthog looks like? They're kind of like ugly, funny looking
Yeah.
little animals.
Yeah.
They're super cute though. They're kind of really quite cute. So when we first drove up to our cottage, there was warthogs all over the place in our yard. There's like all these warthogs. And then as we drove up, they scattered. They kind
Yeah.
of went running. But it was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is so cool. I've never approached. Imagine yourself approaching your Airbnb. And as you're pulling up into your driveway, there's more than a dozen warthogs fleeing, fleeing. Super neat. I love
Wow.
that place.
That's so unique. Wow.
It's so unique. And
Yeah.
that place too, that's another interesting place too, because they give you your own firewood and they do not provide any food there.
Okay.
And so you got to bring your own food with you. You stop at the
Yeah.
supermarket before you get there
Yeah.
and you make your own food. You've got your own kitchen and stuff like that, but you've also got your own braai. So they provide
Oh.
firewood for you. You can cook over an open flame outside of your cottage. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, man.
Wow.
Preparing your own barbecue. This is a completely different experience to the organized safaris,
Yeah.
right? Because the
Yeah.
organized safaris, they're barbecuing for you and everything, which is also super nice,
Yeah.
but also kind of cool. This is a DIY kind of place. You bring your own groceries and they provide you with the firewood and with, an outdoor braai, but
Mm-hmm.
you make the fire yourself and you're cooking your own, grilling your own meats over open fire. And it's such a rural area too. The stars, you see the stars beautifully there. And you can hear animals too while you're outside grilling.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear the warthogs snorting and like other animals that you don't even know what the hell animal it is
Yeah.
making noises and stuff. And it's like you were out in the middle of nowhere too. It's a nice feeling.
Oh wow. That's such a unique
And
feeling.
I will also say one
Yeah.
last thing I'll say about Swaziland too is I don't know if I've ever been to another country in my life with better handicrafts to buy at a lower price. I love getting souvenirs, especially
Mm-hmm.
unique ones, handmade stuff,
Yeah.
handmade dolls, handmade bowls, handmade ceramics, glassware, um, art. It is an awesome country to buy unique souvenirs for a very low price.
Oh wow. Okay. And is there anything you want to say for those two countries before we go back to South Africa to finish the episode?
Um, no, but do you have more? If you have more questions about those two countries, I will answer them.
Well, Dombeya was the big one, but I got both here for budget. I mean, I imagine these are going to be great value for money.
Yes. And so we stayed, for example, before we went to Dombeya, the other place we stayed at in Swaziland, we stayed at a completely pimped out, like I would say, 4-star resort. And it was about $100 per night, $100 per night. And that's for 4 people, including
Yeah.
breakfast. So if you're willing to spend around $100 per night for a family, you can do quite well there. And also in Lesotho, yeah, it's inexpensive. But the only thing I would say about those two little countries is though South Africa has so much tourism infrastructure,
Yes.
your selection of accommodation is way better in South Africa.
Yeah.
So you might think, oh, I'm going to get even cheaper prices in Swaziland and Lesotho than I would in South Africa because they're poorer countries a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's actually not true. because there's less selection of good quality accommodation. South Africa has such a large selection of accommodation. I think the prices are actually even better in South Africa than they are in the two little countries.
Oh wow, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I think people would want to know safety. I guess you felt safe with your family in both those countries.
Yes, those two little countries, I think they're even safer than South Africa because there's no big cities in them, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. Fair enough. Background to South Africa. I've got a few more questions about South Africa, really, based on my research. How would you say, on the whole, I know you had a good experience of this, but tourists are viewed in South Africa. Are they an important part of the economy for local people, or are they looked down upon a
Oh
little
my,
bit?
oh no, they're not looked down upon. I mean,
No.
man, they need the tourism there. I'm telling you. I mean, the unemployment rate there is absolutely staggering. It's somewhere between 35 and 40% unemployed. And
Oh wow. Huh.
if you look at the
Should
youth
know.
unemployment, it's even higher.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but it's in that range. It's a staggering. They absolutely need tourism there, and that you are very welcome as a tourist there. And I know, urban tourism is a big thing in a lot of different
Yes.
countries where tourists are resented. And it's really interesting as an American too, because uh, Americans, when we're traveling abroad, Europe is the big thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Americans travel to Europe like crazy, and we love Europe, and for good reason. And I'm not trying to slag Europe off. I love Europe too, but you will find way more anti-Americanism in Europe than you will find in South Africa. You'll be resented much more from an over tourism perspective, regardless of whether you're American or what the hell country you're coming from in many European places, right? Because there's too
Mm.
many tourists in Europe.
Yeah.
There are not enough tourists in South Africa, and there's nowhere near enough tourists in Lesotho and Swaziland. And
Yeah.
there's so many damn places to visit. Um, Listen, they need you down there and they want you to come. They really do. And they welcome you. They need you.
Okay. And admin point of view, any vaccinations for the trip?
So we did not get any special vaccinations for the trip. Now, we did take malaria medication. Um, and yellow fever, as I believe, is recommended, but I had already had that one. So once you've taken yellow
Yeah.
fever once, you don't need to get it again. And we did take our malaria pills. Now, if you are not going on safari up near Kruger, if you're just going to Cape Town and like Drakensberg, I don't think you even need the yellow fever or the malaria
Mm.
because different part of the country, different climates, whatever. But it is recommended to have the malaria pills if you're going up near Kruger National Park. So we did take those.
Okay. And cash or card or both?
And so I used a credit card everywhere. I'm trying to think, when did I have to use cash? I had to use cash in certain situations when you're buying things, street vendors, things like that, but
Mm.
not too often. Mostly cards. I did bribe a police officer once who pulled me over for speeding. That was a cash transaction. I have a video about that on my channel.
Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh about it. I probably shouldn't have done it either, too. But by that point, I'd already had one other speeding ticket, and
Right.
we were actually heading out to a game drive. So we were driving to Kruger, actually, Kruger
Yeah.
Shalati, and the game drives are at 4 o'clock. And if you don't make it there on time, they leave without you.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I thought it would be worth it to. He was, strongly hinting that he wanted a bribe.
Yeah.
And so I paid it. It was like $10 US. I paid that in cash
Oh, nothing
right to
really.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And to finish the episode, it's been a great chat about this area of the country. So much more to talk about and to see, but luckily you vlog all your travels, so people can head to the show notes, click the
Yeah.
links on
Yeah.
all the places that we mentioned today, and obviously subscribe to your channel and watch those videos and like and leave a comment. That'd be handy as well.
Yep. I'll mention too that Mad Traveler also, this is one issue too, is that you folks, the Brits spell traveler with 2 L's
We do.
and we spell it with 1 L.
Yeah.
So it's if you're British or you use British spellings, remember Mad Traveler with 1 L, not 2 L's.
Do you have that tag in your YouTube account where it's 2 L's, just in case people search for that?
I do not. I've never, you know what? I shouldn't I?
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently it helps. We'll see.
Why can't we just agree on spellings? It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why. We got the language from you folks. We should just use your spellings. I think. I don't know why we have different spellings. So weird.
I am not an English expert, but by the sound of it, traveler needs 2 L's. But hey, I'm no expert.
I agree with you. Maybe I should change the name of my channel. Maybe I should add an extra
No,
L
'cause you
on
read
my
that,
channel.
well, you read that book, Bad Traveler. You can't change that, right?
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. Hey, it's been
Okay,
great talking to you, buddy.
it's been great. Just a couple more questions. Where are you off to for the rest of 2025, going into early
Oh my
2026?
gosh. I wish I knew. So, okay, we have a family tradition that we've done the last few years of going on a Christmas cruise.
Okay.
So I think over the Christmas holidays, it's going to be some sort of a cruise, but I do not have it booked yet. I'm so last minute. I'm terrible with these things. And so I don't know the answer to that question, which really stresses me out. I hate it when I don't have my next trip booked,
Yeah.
but I'm going to be going places. I assure you of that, but I do not know where they are at the moment. What about you?
I'm off to Bhutan this
Oh,
December.
no way.
I am. It's expensive, but I'm off.
Oh my God.
I haven't
wanna
actually
go there
announced that yet,
so
but I think by the time this
badly.
comes out, I can announce it.
Oh my God. I want to go there so badly.
So
Can
I
you tell me real quick? How much is it?
well, I've been in touch with the tourism board and I've managed to negotiate a waiver on the daily fee for exchange of content. So that's $100 saved a day.
No way.
Yes.
Can you send me their contract information? I want to do it.
Yeah, I can send you the contact as well.
Yeah,
or
whoever you're
contact.
dealing with, send it to me. Yeah, thank
Yep.
you. I want to go there so badly.
But you do have to book a tour / a tour guide, right?
Yes,
so that
I know that. Yes.
Yeah, so that's coming through. I've not got the full price of that yet, but I'm worried. But I've got 10 days
Oh, so
there.
you don't know the price yet?
Oh, between $3,000 and $4,000, I'd imagine, for 10 days.
For a 10-day? So
All in.
$300 a day.
All in.
That's not that bad. But what,
Yeah.
what about the airfare, though? That's the hard part, right?
Yeah, so the problem is they have set days where they fly. And the airfare from Bangkok to Paro, which is 3 hours, was 1,500 Canadian dollars return, which is crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh
and
my God.
And you have to get to Bangkok, so it doesn't factor that in either.
See, that's why we've never been there.
Yeah. It's a problem.
Because that's for us to be times 4.
Yes. Yeah.
Wait,
And
are
it's
you going
fixed.
alone or with your partner?
No, solo. Going solo. Yeah.
So, and then you got to get to Thailand, which would be another 1,000 or 15.
I'm flying from Australia, which is about 700 Canadian dollars one way. Not too bad.
Wait, first you're going to Australia?
Yeah, to watch cricket. Brisbane.
And then Thailand?
Yeah, and then Bhutan, and then back to Thailand. Yeah.
God, man.
Yeah,
I'm
then Mexico.
so envious of you. And then Mexico.
Yeah,
I'm
for Christmas.
so envious of you, man.
Expensive
Wait,
trip.
you have a job? Don't you have a job?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Managed to negotiate 5 weeks off, yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's true, yeah. Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
you're my role model. 5 weeks? And are you going to take that all 5 in one shot? Or are you going to split it up?
No, that's all in one go, yeah. I think I'll go on the 25th of November, be back sort of like 3rd of Jan, something like that. So 5 weeks.
So you're going to take the 5 weeks all in one shot?
Yeah.
But then they'll expect you to work for an entire year without taking any time off at all?
Oh no, I get some more time off next year, yeah.
So the clock will start all over again?
Yeah, but I'm in minus, so the first 6 months next year, no travel. So I'm getting it all in.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're gonna play the cards out. See, I love that. I absolutely love that. However, I know how I would feel on the last day of your trip, coming back to work and being like, oh my gosh, I have 6 months now with no travel.
Yeah, and it's like crap weather here as well. I can't even travel anywhere here, really.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
funny. Man, that is going to be so epic. And as a follower of your podcast and your channel, I'm looking forward to that. Even though I won't be coming with you, at least I'll get to live vicariously. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be a good trip, and it's been on my list for 5 years, number one, Bhutan. It's so expensive, so I want to do it properly.
I wanted to go there so long. So there's a book about Bhutan that I read years ago, written by I think she might have been a Canadian woman, actually, who was a teacher, I believe, in Bhutan.
Yeah, I read it. Yeah.
Zeppa? Jamie,
Yeah.
was her name?
No, I read the book. It's called, is it called Midnight Bhutan or something?
I don't remember, but I feel like her last name Zeppa, is Zeppa?
It rings a bell. It's got a blue cover, I think, on the book. That inspired me to go because I've asked my tour group to go and take me east. Like the west has got the normal stuff people see, but I want to go east for 4 days and see that side. Yeah.
Now, why is that?
Because in this book, apparently it's like super untouched.
Really? Oh my gosh!
What?
Tell me the name of the book because I want to know if it's the same.
Butter Tea at Sunrise. Have you read that book?
I don't think that's the one I read.
Oh, that's by the author
Is it good?
Britta Das. She's German.
I'm looking it up right now. And is it good?
I loved it. Gave me a sense of
Okay.
what East was. It's in an area called Mongar in the East. I thought, do you know what?
Okay.
I want to go there. So yeah, that's kind of what I've asked them to arrange.
Okay, so I read a different book. I'll have to figure out what the hell it was and send it to you. That also was quite good. And I will say also too, we watched a wonderful movie too, which I'll recommend to you. And again, I do not know the name of it, but I'll send it to you offline when I look it up.
Yeah.
We watched a wonderful movie that was set in Bhutan, where it was about a teacher from the capital city, who was sent out to an extremely rural, to a very small rural village to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And it won some awards. It's a wonderful movie.
This rings a bell. Have I seen this?
Something about a yak. The word yak is in the title of the movie. I remember that.
Oh, this rings a bell somewhere. Yeah.
But it's a fantastic movie, and the cinematography, the scenery of Bhutan, you got to see it.
And I don't know what you think about
I'll
this.
look it up.
Yeah, thanks. I need a recommendation. But
it might be a yak in the classroom.
A yak in the classroom.
Hold on a second. Yeah. It might be. The name of it might be Yak in the Classroom. Hold on 1 second. It's you've got to see this because the cinematography is so beautiful, and it's like it gives you an idea of the geography of the country too, because this teacher had to hike for like 3 days to get to this village because there were no roads leading to there. Here it is.
Yeah,
it's actually called A Yak in the Classroom. Lunana, A Yak in the Classroom.
Oh, wow. I'll watch that. Okay,
you got to see this and let me know if you enjoy it. You will enjoy it.
Oh, amazing. I think Bhutan would be like going back to the old days. I think that's what I'm going there. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, and
Anyways,
they have all those decorative penises there too. There's those decorative penises all over the country, which that's very nice. I like that.
Also, before we finish, I'm leading a tour next year to El Salvador in November. That's on the,
No way.
on the cards. Yeah.
In November of 2026.
Yeah. 10 days, 11 nights, 10 nights, 11 days. Yeah.
Send me the information about that.
Yeah.
Because I've never been to El Salvador, and you're an El Salvador expert. I would love to go. All right. All right.
Cheers, dude, coming on. Appreciate it. It's been a great chat.
Thank you so much, James.
Thank you.
Cheers, buddy.